Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So today I'm kind of going to be talking about something that a lot of people don't talk about or don't feel comfortable talking about. So as you read in the disclaimer, don't watch this if you get triggered by, sexual assault or, being hospitalized for mental health issues. Please don't watch this. I'm not going to get into too many details as to what happened with my assault, but that is part of the reason why I was in a mental institution when I was younger. So yeah, I'm just going to give you kind of a little bit as to what happened with that. When I was 9 to 10 years old, we lived in a house apartment type thing. It was like a 3-family kind of, and we were struggling, so my mom found 2 roommates that were gonna live downstairs, not really full-time, but kind of. One of them had a girlfriend and he was over there part of the time, and the other one, he'd sleep over when the other guy wasn't there. So it was 2 guys. One of them worked with my mom. That's how she found both of them. And we didn't know is that the one that did all that to me was on the sex offender list. And we didn't know that until after everything had happened. So pretty much when I was about 10 years old, that's when it started. He was living there, and it'd be if my mom went to work or something and I was there. My mom would work nights and I'd stay home. I know that I was young to stay home, but I've stayed home younger than that. So it was fine. And then like randomly things just started happening. I don't want to get into too much detail as to what happened, but things happened. He threatened me with a BB gun. I found out what it was after, but being 10 years old, I didn't know. Like, I didn't know what the difference was between like a regular gun and a BB gun. Like, it looked real. And he threatened to harm my family, my little brother. It was just me, my mom, and my little brother there. So he threatened to hurt him, and I'm really close with my younger brother. So I obviously didn't want that to happen. And yeah, so I just kept my mouth shut, and that happened over the course of a few months. And we finally ended up moving out and living with my mom's now husband. So that's pretty much why it stopped. I didn't tell my mom okay, so that happened like when I was in 6th grade. I didn't tell her until I was a freshman. Yeah, I didn't tell her until I was a freshman. I don't know if it was the summer before freshman year or in freshman, or wait. Yeah, no, it was during freshman year I told her. I had told one of my friends, Christina, what happened. She was like the only one I really told. And she told me like I have to tell my mom. I wasn't sleeping. I was just having a lot of nightmares and things like that. It was getting to be really bad, and I kept all this from my mom from 6th grade all the way to 9th grade. Sometime in that year I told her. So I kept it a secret for a really, really long time, and I just pushed it down and pushed it down until obviously I broke and I couldn't keep it a secret anymore. So she told me to tell her. I ended up telling her, and I think the next day or to after, we went to the police station, and this all happened in Newington, Connecticut. So we had to go, that we were living in Hartford at the time. So we had to go to Newington and file the police report and all that. And at this point, it was so far from when all that happened that like we didn't really know his name. Like we knew, but like it was hard to like, you know, try to relive that and like figure out what his actual full name was and stuff like that. So we ended up figuring that out. I pretty much sat with a cop while my mom was in another room and told her everything that happened, and I hadn't told anybody fully everything that happened, and I had to. So I did that. That was very, very uncomfortable. And I know a lot of people, that's the worst trauma, besides obviously what happened, is pretty much reliving everything that happened. So I told her everything that happened, and she had my mom read over it. Sorry, I really didn't want to cry during this. I'm like okay now. But yeah, I told her everything that happened down to all the details. There is one thing I left out because I was very embarrassed to tell her, and watching Special Victims Unit and stuff like that, I see now why they are predators, and they do take they do prey on kids that are very vulnerable and stuff like that. And I had a lot of trauma growing up and stuff like that, and a lot of issues, and he picked up on that. So there's just one thing I left out. I still can't say what it is. I don't think I've told anybody, honestly. I'm not even sure if Jaden knows. And at this point, me and Jaden have never met at this point, because this all happened my freshman year. We met sophomore year. So yeah, but anyway, so I pretty much told everything except for that one thing, and I haven't come to terms with that yet. I'm still working on that. But regardless, I told her what happened, what he did, and that was freshman year. They ended up finding him. I never had to go through trial, which I'm very happy I didn't have to, because he took a plea deal. And I think it was, at this point, my mom knew like how long. I think it was 5 years that he took the deal for. So he got out, well, I told him, no, he got 5 years after whenever, because I don't know when the trial was and all that stuff. I think it was either my freshman year or my sophomore year that it actually happened. I was kept in the hush-hush about that. My mom didn't tell me anything about that, which I didn't care to know at the time anyway, but I think it was about 5 years. So yeah, all that happened, told her. It was very uncomfortable. And skip ahead, I was doing okay. I was still having the nightmares. I was still trying to cope in my own way. I never got help. I kept telling everyone I was fine, even though I was not. I was not okay. In my sophomore year, and in my middle school years before I had told, I was bullied very, very, very badly. I was bullied in middle school, elementary school. I was bullied so much, and I think that also impacted me, and I just kept everything inside. And yeah, so all that just kept going on into sophomore year a little bit. Not as bad as middle school, but it was decent. I had a lot of things going on. I was still trying to figure out who I was, and I wasn't sleeping, and I just had a breakdown. I I had a breakdown as to everything that happened. I had a breakdown from things that were going on in school, things that were going on at home. It was just really hard time. So I ended up taking some sleeping pills, and it wasn't like regular sleeping. I think I took like 2 Benadryl and like a handful of melatonin, and I slept from whenever I took that until the next morning I had school. Sorry, there's kids outside walking home from the bus. So I think the next day or 2 days later, I was just having so many issues. I don't really know the timeline as to what led up to this, but I ended up telling my guidance counselor what happened. I wrote her a note, left it on her desk, and was trying to avoid her the rest of the day. I was like, why did I do that? I'm happy I did because I got help. But yeah, so I ended up telling her. My mom picked me up from school, brought me straight to the hospital, and that's when this whole process started with the institution. So I was a sophomore. It was a week before, well, it was a week, or no, it was 2 weeks before spring break. So I was, yeah, in the hospital. So I went to the hospital. They, took me in. My mom said, she tried to harm herself. And they took me straight to the back where all those types of patients go. This was a children's hospital, by the way. They took me in the back. I stayed there overnight until I guess they found a bed in the actual institution part. So I stayed there. I did not sleep all night. I was just up looking around, and I went in the process. They took me in the ambulance. It was just right across the street. The mental institution was right across the street. They took me over there, and they pretty much went through my whole body and were like, do you cause yourself any self-harm? I said no. They said, are you contemplating taking your life? I think I said no at that point. I really just wanted to go home. But I wasn't like suicidal or anything like that. So I just said no. And I think that was it. And then I just slept until the rest of the day. Then the next day, my cousin came. She actually snuck in some candy for me, so I was happy about that. And she went with me to the next place. So that was just like getting me in and waiting for like a bed to actually open, I guess, with the older kids. I would think it was with the teens. And there was another person there that was very, very young. So I was scared as to what was going on. But she came with me. We went up there. They did the rest of my paperwork or whatever. And yeah, I was just there. My mom brought me clothes. And yeah, so I was there for a week. The first 2 days, I refused to take any medication. I refused to eat. Yeah, it was bad. I don't know. I was just in a bad place. I wasn't eating. They were calling my mom and telling her, if she doesn't eat, she's gonna have to stay longer. If she doesn't take her medication, she's gonna have to stay longer. So my mom finally came. She's like, just do what they say. And finally, the 3rd day, I took my medication, which made me almost faint because my blood pressure is already low, and they gave me a medication that affected that, and I almost fainted. So yeah, that was fun. So it was pretty much like a typical day. We'd play games. We'd have the meal time. Some people were there for obviously all different types of reasons. The kids were actually really nice. Someone was there for a really long time. They were on like their 4th month of being there, so they knew everything. They were enrolled in like a different school. But yeah, so we had time for different stuff. So it was like play type stuff, like with like the Just Dance games. I never did any of that. Like I said, I was reverting back to like when I was like young, like, and I was just shy. I didn't talk to anyone really. So yeah, we'd shower once a day. I think in the mornings you showered. If you had medication in the morning, you take your medication in the morning, and then when breakfast came, you go and eat. And there'd be people in there making sure people ate and all that. Same thing for dinner and lunch and all that other stuff. So yeah, and you could pick what you wanted. So the food was, it was all right. If you think of hospital food, but like a little bit better, that's what it was like in there. So like I said, I was in there for a week, and I was so mad by like day 3 because I had missed one of my volleyball practices. I was on a travel volleyball team, and we had a practice that week, 1 or 2 practices that week, I don't know. And then we had a game coming Sunday, and I was like, I want to leave so I can go play. And I was just getting so mad and so frustrated that I couldn't leave. If you don't know, I love volleyball, so I was like really upset about that. But then we just talked, and you know, they showed me some coping skills, which I'll share with you in a minute. But yeah, so that week, that's how that went. I talked to whatever doctors came. Every morning you talk to your doctor, have like a meeting and stuff like that, and whoever wanted to visit, they'd visit. But yeah, so that's pretty much how that went. Like I said, it was a long time from now, so I don't remember specifically, but I know Just Dance was very, very popular. But I never did it. So fast forward, I did the week there, and they gave me medication to help me sleep because I was really struggling to sleep, and that was a medication that almost made me faint. They gave me a prescription to take it home. I think I took it maybe the first night, and somebody stole it. We had someone living with us, and they stole the medication. They stole like a safe that my mom had kept it in because I had done the sleeping pill thing before, and they ended up stealing it, so I never really got to finish that medication anyway. So I actually never really went through therapy besides in the inpatient, and they didn't put me in outpatient really at all. They said if I wanted to, I think, well, they might have. I don't know. I was still a kid. I didn't really pay attention to all that. So I think they did. I think I ended up going there for maybe like 4 or 5 visits, and I didn't want to go back anymore. Not that I don't believe in therapy, but I just was done talking about it. I felt at a place where I was okay with pretty much everything that happened, like I said, besides that one thing, and I'm still working on that. But I got my justice. He was in jail. I felt safer. I think that was the main thing that kept me from moving past it, was that he was out, and I pretty much allowed him to be out because I didn't say anything. So the fact that he was in jail, like, it sat well with me, and I think that's what I needed to move forward. So yeah, but other coping stuff, well, I'd say, you know, talk to somebody. Tell somebody what is going on, and they will lead you in the right direction. If you don't want to talk about it, I mean, I didn't talk about it for almost 3 years, but you need to talk to somebody because it's gonna make you feel better. And the longer you wait, the harder it's gonna be to try to talk to the police and give them detailed accounts as to what happened to you. And if something does happen physically and you have evidence of that on you, the sooner you talk about it, like, the sooner they can get the evidence and put this person away so you can get your justice and you can move forward. And then I think that's the other thing. I didn't want it to happen to anybody else. So him being in jail and being, you know, a registered sex offender, it helps me sleep better, that he'll have all these things to follow, so he won't ever be put in a situation where he can hurt somebody else. Because like I said, I was underage when I wrote, or when I was talking to the police officer. My name was nowhere near like being said like in court or anything like that. I was just Jane Doe. Because I was underage, they couldn't release my name. But here I am releasing my own name. Go figure. But yeah, so I say just talk to somebody, get therapy if you want to. I'm not gonna say it didn't work for me or it did work for me. I think whatever happened in the inpatient did help me a lot, and that obviously was therapy driven. You know, if you need medication to help you sleep or whatever, go to a doctor, get that prescribed. Don't just, you know, do what I did and just try to sleep it off, because it's not gonna go away when you wake up. It's gonna come right back. Don't try to drink it off. But I have something else to say. My friend actually has gone through a sexual assault in her adulthood, and I messaged her and asked her like what she did. She's actually in therapy. I think she said she's been going for about 4 months now. And I think she's on medication, and she was also in a mental institution as well. So in her case, therapy is working. Like I said, it's not for all people, but you at least need someone to lean on. You can't do everything on your own. And she struggles from PTSD, just like I do, kind of still, but more I did back then. She still struggles with it. She's seeing a therapist, so she's working on it. I think the hardest thing, like I said, is the police aspect and doing all that and trying to get your justice. Bringing all that back up is hard for people, so seek help, please. Your mental health is very important. And just know it's not your fault. I think that's another thing I struggled with was, I mean, I was a kid. I was 10 years old. Obviously, it was not my fault. He was a grown man doing that to me. And I think in those years that I didn't talk about it, I blamed it on myself a lot. And obviously now I know it's not my fault. No matter what your situation is, it is not your fault. And you need to remember that. But I posted for people to ask me questions. Somebody actually did ask me some questions, so I'm just going to answer those now. But, you know, if you have any questions for me, or I didn't answer or give you a complete explanation as to what happened, please comment down below and let me know what your question is, or if you have any comments. If this happened to you and you just need someone to listen to you, I am here as well. Obviously, I'm not a professional. I'm not saying I'm gonna tell you what to do or whatever, but if you just want someone to listen, I can be that for you. But into the questions. So this is DJ Odam. Shout out to you for asking these questions. But he said, did you experience any denial regarding what happened? Yes, for I'd say the first like 4 years, a lot of denial that it didn't happen. Well, I'd say for the first like 3 years when I didn't talk about it, it was just a lot of putting it down and just pretty much not thinking about it. Just know that it could never happen to me, blah blah blah, even though obviously it did, but just pushing it deep down. I think there was a lot of denial. Sorry, my camera died. There was a lot of denial in that though. Do you feel ashamed, or did you feel ashamed about my experiences? Yes, I was very ashamed. That's another reason why I didn't tell anyone. I'm very particular in who, I don't know how to explain this. I don't like talking about things like that. I don't like talking about things that are personal to my body and, you know, stuff like that. I don't like showing my body like that. I don't really wear crop tops like that even. I'm working on it. They're cute, but I don't like showing my body like that. So I was very ashamed as the things that happened, like that they happened, and I didn't want people to know exactly what happened. So talking about it with the cops made me feel very ashamed, made me feel very gross. Yeah, so I had a lot of that. Do people treat you differently when they find out you were in an institution? A lot of people don't know. Even when I went back to school, a lot of people didn't know that for that week before March vacation or whatever, or April vacation, whatever vacations before the summer, they didn't know where I was, and I was gone for a whole week. So yeah, a lot of people just don't know. I don't know if people would necessarily treat me differently. I think maybe now, if some of my old high school students that I went to watch this video, maybe they'll kind of see, you know, the timeline as to all that and how I acted when I was younger. And like I said, some of the bullying happened there while I was in high school and in middle school, when I went to the same middle school as the same high school. So yeah, I had reasons for my actions. What advice do you have for those who have never been assaulted or in a mental institution? I think just not pointing a finger and saying, oh, you're crazy because you were in a mental institution. Obviously, it's called a mental institution, but that doesn't mean you're there because you're crazy. You're there because you're trying to get help for things that are bigger than you. So whether you have an eating disorder, whether you are trying to harm yourself, or whether your life is just so stressful and you just can't bear it anymore, you can be in there for a whole variety of reasons, not just because you're crazy or you have some type of mental illness that, I don't know, that defines you as being different. I don't want to say crazy, but like just different in a different way. I just had too much in me and I needed extra help. So they put me in there for my safety, pretty much. What advice do you have for those of us who have never experienced but want to be supportive for those who have? Obviously don't pry. And I was kind of like this with my friend. You know, she was posting some stuff on Twitter, and it being Twitter, she was being open about it. So I did ask, but don't assume something happened unless like it's right there in front of you. But just be supportive. If they need help and you see that they're really struggling and they need help, get them help. Because some people don't want to ask for it. You have to show them that there's help and they need to get it. But don't be judgmental. If they tell you things that you can't handle, you need to get help as well. You can't, even though it didn't happen to you, hearing some of those stories, it can affect you, and you need to get help for that. Wherever that help may come from, you need to get help from that. Jaden has been a really good help for me in talking about this. I've never really talked to my dad about it. I talked to my mom when it happened, then after that, it was just like, it wasn't talked about anymore. So he's like the only one I can really talk to and relate to about things like this. So when I'm feeling bothered or something, I have at least one person I can talk to. So like I said, talking does really help. And I'm still working on this one little area. Maybe I'll tell you in the future once I've come to terms with it, but right now I'm still not there yet. But that's pretty much all I have to say. Like I said, if you have any other questions, or if I didn't really hit on a topic, or not a topic, if I didn't, you know, fully explain anything and you want to know more about it, let me know. I'm not going to get into details as to what exactly happened. Use your imagination. But yeah, so thanks for watching, and I'll see you in my next video.